Okay, I've taken up Devin's challenge of writing an ancestor. I took my great-great-grandmother, forgive me, I do not know how to say that, so we'll all just read it on the screen. But how much should I write? Okay, so how much should you write? There was a video released at the beginning of this week. Let me look up the name of it real quick. I don't have a good thumbnail on it. I do apologize. I need to work on that. Life has just been so busy. It's not even funny. All right, let me show you real quick. Share screen. Nope, that's not the video. I got to go back. Oh, no, this is a how much should you write? Oh, but this does apply. Okay, I'm going to share it anyway. There is a video called, let me hide your comment just for a minute. Haven't gotten rid of it. It's called Starting Your Family Tree Journey, Who to Research First. And really, who should you research first, or who should you write about first? And I gave you a number of different strategies on how to answer who should you write about first. It's based on your experience, how deep you want to go, and how many people do you want to include. So I hope that you guys will check out that video. You got to see the analytics behind the scenes. But your question is, how much should I write? Okay. So the other video I did over on the Write Your Family History channel was about writing biographical sketches. That's a short version of a story you can make about your ancestor, and you make it non-boring. So the first thing I would actually recommend you do is go ahead and make a biographical sketch and see, is that enough? Is that enough, or I want to do more? Chances are you're going to want to do more. In that case, then I'm going to recommend the book, A Recipe for Writing Family History. There we go, I can point. That one is available on Amazon in paperback or digital copies. And what I want you to do is go record by record, sentence by sentence, writing the story of your ancestor's life, okay? And if you will do that, the how much do you write question becomes answered. Because as you get through the record by, I want you to process every record that you have on this great-great-grandmother. And you're going to use the markup strategy. If you go to the video of the obituary challenge, let me pull that one up. I know where that is. Right, I'll pull it up on. Okay, hold on. It's on YouTube. It's Write Your Family History. I'm pulling up a video real quick.
Okay.
Why don't you look through some of? Oh, you can't.
I can't.
You
can.
Got the
computer.
But you can look through those.
Okay.
Write Your Family History. There is a video series, and June was kind enough to share the obituary of her grandmother. Here it is. We'll pull this one up. Okay. Share screen. Okay. So this one is Obituary to Draft Writing Challenge. And this shows you how I took just one record and I marked it up to ask clarification questions. I added familial context to that particular event. And then I didn't actually go to the social history part of things. But it is one of the steps that you can add. It's all outlined in A Recipe for Writing Family History, but that's a video where you can actually see my thought process as I'm like marking things up and adding that familial context. So after you've processed all the records, after you've marked things up to make it make more sense, and after you've added familial context, then look at your draft and see if you need to add anything else. If the story makes sense right there and you don't want to add any more social context, you can stop. If you want to add a little bit so that we can understand where in time did this great-grandmother live, what was going on in, I believe this is Sweden, because you are from Sweden. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. I'm just making an assumption here. That way somebody, maybe you have relatives in England or they're in America and they don't really know a little bit about Swedish history to understand what her life was like. If you sprinkle in a little of that historical context, and then you look at the story and go, I think I'm done, then you get to make that judgment and call it good, and you can be done. If at that point you're like, no, I I don't know if you're at that point. I don't know. Then share with somebody. Share with somebody you trust, somebody who really likes genealogy, and say, have I given you enough so that you understand who my great grandmother is and what her life was like, and use that feedback to help you decide if you've written enough. So every ancestor is going to be different based on how many records you have, how much historical context is needed to understand that person, and then how much time do you want to spend on it? Because if you're like, I'm done, I don't want to work on, I want to go work on great great grandfather, then that's when you call it good. So I hope that helped answer your question. If you have any follow-ups, feel free to drop those in. So let's go ahead and tackle this next one. Oh, wait.
This one.
Okay, I just hit it. I took it off screen. So we're going to start here. Those three, they go together.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Matthew, you have a very long question that Andy's going to tackle.
All right, I've been looking at distant DNA matches, trying to solve a family mystery about where in Ireland a 2 times great-grandfather came from. I'm seeing some paternal matches with maternal shared matches. Are these likely to be false matches? What do you think? Okay, now let's go over here to blank because
Okay.
we want to draw this out. Because
you get to take the whole thing. And you know what? I'm going to pull in computer number 2 so I can look up the other comments coming in.
Oh, okay. So now do I got to share, right?
Uh-huh.
Present.
Share screen.
Share screen.
And then blank. Nope. You want the whole window or do you want the tab?
The window is fine.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay. Let me get the screen there so I can see. All right. So we have Matt down here.
Do you want to take off that comment?
Let me hide that.
Yeah.
And Matt, of course, has a dad and a mom, and he's talking about paternal matches. So we're actually going to stop there. And he was trying to find a second great grandfather. So we'll just put this box up here as the second great grandfather. So he has these matches, and we'll just use one person to represent all of those matches. And remember, that person, just like everybody else, has a father and a mother. Now, in this case, we probably don't know how or who is related to this second great grandfather of Matt's. But there's lots of possibilities. For instance, they both could be related through their fathers, or one could be related through the father, Matt, and the other through the mother. Now, the thing that Matt has said is that he is finding some of these with maternal shared matches. So he has this paternal shared match over here, but the question he has is the fact that, hey, it looks like there is potentially some sharing here. Now, whether or not these are false matches, I would say you really don't have enough information yet, because the number of possibilities is quite staggering. So let me show you here. So for instance, let's put this other person over here, this other ancestor. Now, this ancestor, we'll use green, is shared through Matt's maternal line. Okay. And what it looks like is somebody over here is also potentially sharing that ancestor. Well, remember, with this problem here, it's not just 1, 2, 3 levels, but there is a grandparent, a great grandparent, and this is just the second great grandparent. So in every single one of these people and every single one of these matches that you're looking at, there are 3 potential levels that you're looking at as far as where any of those relationships could be. And so this is where isolating certain segments of what you're looking at with these distant matches is important. So for instance, if you have done like visual phasing and you've divided up your DNA into each one of your grandparents, then and again, if you're not using Ancestry, you can look at your chromosome browser and see what segment you're sharing with this match. And that's going to tell you, okay, which of these 4 people we're talking about. And the reason why I say just one segment is because when we're talking about distant matches, almost all of our distant matches are single segment. So once you get down below about 20 centimorgans, it's very rare that you have 2 segments less than 20 centimorgans, both less than, in that case, that'd be like one that's 13 and one that's 7 or 10 and 10, something like that. That's very rare. Usually when you're talking about those distant matches, you're talking about you only share one segment with them. And that one segment can only be inherited through one of your grandparents. And it also can only be inherited through one of their grandparents. So in that case, you'd actually be looking a couple of steps up from where Matt's starting to look. So are these likely to be false matches? I wouldn't say that they're likely, simply because you don't have enough information yet to determine whether they are false matches or not. Let's see here. Matt's going to add, I suspect false matches because the migrations of the family tree on the sides of my family make this unlikely. Also, I'm using Ancestry, and this is the downside of Ancestry with not having that chromosome browser, is you can't isolate, hey, am I matching this person on this? So for instance, you may actually match just on the paternal side to this person, but this person happens to share some DNA that some of your maternal matches share, not necessarily what you share from your mom. Which, for a population like Ireland, which actually is not that large, it's entirely possible. All right, next question.
Okay. Are you understanding? Go to the start. Before we talk about that one, the B and the C, does that make enough sense?
Yeah, Said, you say part B and part C. We're missing a part A.
Yeah.
So if you have part A, if you want to put that in so that we understand what the full question is, then we can take a look at it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tackle Dragonfly Lady. Thank you guys for mixing things up. We've got writing, we've got research, we have DNA. That way Andy can look ahead and look at DNA questions and get prepared for those, and then I can tackle writing and research ones. This was from Dragonfly Lady. What source can a person use to learn about the terminology used in census records? For example, if a location is listed as township, how can you learn the actual name of the township? Okay, first, we can't necessarily make assumptions, but I'm probably going to make an assumption here. I'm assuming you're talking about U.S. census records rather than Canadian or Mexico's or England's. If you're in those other locations, I'm going to recommend you look for what I'm about to recommend based on U.S. census records. So if you go to censusrecords.gov, or not census records, census.gov, type what I share, census.gov, you will find the list of the every 10-year census in the United States. And once you get into one of those, then you will be able to see.
I typed the wrong thing.
Go figure.
I typed census.com.
Not census.com.
I'm going to ban us now.
You can't.
I can't delete this.
Not on StreamYard. You have to do it in YouTube, actually. Anyway. To retract the message, we have to do that on YouTube. It's kind of funky. Anyway, so you go to census.gov, and on census.gov, you'll find the census you're looking for. And when you get to the census record you're looking for, the year, there will be enumerator instructions. And these are the books that were given to the census workers to write out all the little codes, all the little things. And there was a follow-up question you had, which is another example. If a person listed as partner under the person listed in as head, all of that definitions will be in the enumerator instructions. Okay. However, census enumerators often got a little crafty. And sometimes they added a little extra details. Sometimes they'll say funny things about somebody's jobs. They get to be kind of humorous little census workers. So it's entirely possible, even after you look up the enumerator instructions, and again, this is for the US Census records. For those who work with the other country's census, let me know in the comments or the chat if you guys have similar instruction books that are available online and where. But if you read the instructions and there doesn't tell you what partner means or township means or something like that means, then you would kind of have to make a guess of what the enumerator was trying to tell you. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not very clear and sometimes it is. And you're like, oh, I wish all the census workers were like this, giving us extra information. But that is where I typically go, where I don't understand what's on a census record. So if that helps, let me know with a thumbs up or a thank you in the comments. I'd appreciate that. All right, you ready with the next one?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go out of order.
No, that's fine.
This is from Nicholas. He's from Germany. How many generations away is the common ancestor? Okay, so when we're talking about two people who match, they share a common ancestor if it's not a false match, and that can be really any number of things. Now, typically, with most DNA cases, you're talking about 8 generations or less as far as the difference between these two matches. But how far that is really actually depends on that person's line, and they don't have to be the same number. So let's go back over to our blank. Yeah. And just do some little drawing. So we have Andy here, and we're going to say that we're related. We're matching. And what we'd have to do is trace up through our family trees and see how we are related. And I'm going to just draw this here like this. And I'm going to draw this here like this. And I don't have them lined up, but this is the same number of each one. And here we have our common ancestor right at the top. Okay, so we can just see here, this is Nicholas, this is me, and he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations away, and I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations away. In this case, it's equal, and this would make us, let's see here, this is first cousins, second cousins, third cousins, fourth cousins. So we would be fourth cousins with that. Now, on the other hand, let's say Nicholas is still there, but I am there. I'm actually 1 generation earlier. In that case now, I'm only 1, 2, 3, 4, and Nicholas is still 5 generations away. So we have a disparity in how close we are to the most recent common ancestor. To figure out what cousin then we are, we'd use the smallest one. That's me. So this would be first cousin, second cousin. So we do third cousins, but then also the difference between us, which is 1. So we're third cousins 1 time removed. So we can have different distances to that common ancestor with our matches, simply because different families have children born at different birth dates. And so sometimes you may have 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 generations distant from a match.
Okay, so you got that covered?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I wanted to do a celebration. Eve dropped in comments a celebration. So if you have good news to share and you want somebody to praise you, we can do that as well. So let me come down to read. Eve just resolved via DNA my unknown biological maternal grandfather's closest link were 95 centimorgans and 55 centimorgans. Was doing some descendancy research, yay, on an unknown maternal cluster with the closest match with 40 centimorgans. That is fantastic. So what are the key tools that you are seeing, Andy, that she's using to solve that? And of course, Eve can share what she used, but what are the things that you're like, that's really good that she used that?
Well, first off, maternal cluster. So not only did she identify people on her maternal side, but it sounds like she's even subdivided those into family groups, basically, of people who are related to each other. So that's clustering. The other thing then was descendancy research, taking common ancestors from those and doing that descendancy research to see where that family may line up with your family.
Awesome. So good job. All right. Now I got to move this around because I can't do two things at once. All right. So I have an answer for somebody, but first I got to pull up the video. So because we had another, what do you recommend using kind of question? And I made a video about it. So got to wait for the stupid ad to go by. While it's going by, we'll go back and get the question pulled up. So do you see the question where she says, I think it was Dragonfly. Yeah. All right. Do you have any opinion or recommendations about what a person can use to plot locations on a simple map that shows specific geographical locations in the U.S.? Well, in actuality, what I'm going to share is actually to put anywhere. And this is actually was done by my good friend and colleague, Melissa Finlay, but she put it on our channel and it's actually really great. And it's from four years ago. So let me share screen, window. Here we go. All right. So here it is. This is a video called How to Create a Genealogy Research My Map. And Melissa goes through.
That was like.
Sorry. The phone is just like, oh, okay, I can't turn it off. So I'll toss it out the window. Anyway, so she shows you how to do a research map, and it's a really good video, and I'll make sure I put a link in the description box. Give me just a few minutes. But Auntie's actually used this to plot out our trips to Europe. She used this to plot out places where children were born along the coast because I think her ancestor was either a merchant or in the Navy. And so all these kids were being born along this coastline. And then when she layered that with the occupation, it made sense.
Were these kids from different families?
No, they're all from the same person. But
I was going to say, that's a lot of different families.
No, it's from the same family, but it's a lot of different ports. Now, it's from the same man. He might have had anyway. But because all of these were coastal cities and he was involved with either the Navy, it was 4 years ago and it's not my relative, but he was either in the merchant marines type of thing or he was a sailor or something. It made sense when she mapped it out. But that's one of the things that I would recommend to make a research map. And you can use it for any location in the world. I pulled this up when I was doing the obituary sharing for June over on the Write Your Family History channel. I plotted out her June, I forget who it was. I know it was Mary at a Peace. And she was born in one location and her husband lived in a few different places. And she died in one location and her children in different places. And her brother was in a different place. And the minister was in a different place. And it was all in Maine. And it was really close to Waterville, Maine, where Andy's parents lived for a while. So I was just like, oh, I know this area. I've actually been to this area. And then you could also change it out to the terrain view or just the kind of the plain Google view. So that's a tool I would recommend using. And that's a tutorial on how to use it.
Okay. I'm ready for the next one.
Okay. Feel free.
And okay. So this is Saeed's question. Now we didn't get part A, but I think I got the gist of it from part B and part C as I was reading through them. We have our family tree saved perfectly for around 577 years. So this would be from now to what, 577, that'd be about 1450. But above him, we want to check out who our ancestor is. We are famous, the Syed clan, descendants of Imam Hussein. My brother is preparing for the Big Y 700 DNA test. And I'd say good job here because past at the years you're at 700 or 500 plus years, autosomal DNA is probably not going to be helpful at all for that. Our sole objective is to trace our family tree from the years around 1459 AD, estimated year of migration from Termez to Jalandhar, back to year 599 AD. All right. So the key to keep in mind for this, for Syed, is At this point, matches with your Y-DNA from your brother are not going to plot a tree out unless that match already has a tree. So you're actually going to be dealing with a couple of potential problems. One is probably the lack of people who have tested Y-DNA that are related in that regard. Not saying that there's not any, but most likely there's not going to be that many. Many of them might have the exact same objective as you, in which case you all match, but nobody has the information that anybody in that group wants. And that's the second part, is all these matches, whether it's through Y-DNA, whether it's through autosomal DNA, they depend on somebody having some information that can help trace that back. And so if nobody has that information, then it's not going to be able to be found simply by testing with Y-DNA. On the other hand, don't let that discourage you, because other than Y-DNA, when we're talking about distant populations, there's not really any other good way to find it. So you guys are headed down the right road. Come back and let us know if you have any success, even if that success is just pushing your family tree back another 100 or 200 years. You may not make it all the way back to 599 AD, but it is possible, since you are talking, it sounds like, about a well-known clan that probably has certain records of the genealogy over the years. And so it's a matter of tying into those records, tying into somebody else who is related through that line, is my guess of what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll tackle this question. I didn't want you to think. I was asking for more clarity before we answered this question, but I didn't get them. So we'll tackle it the best we can. So the question is, what is the best practice when attaching DNA cousins on Ancestry? I manage 3 generations, and we each match to cousin Jim. Do I attach cousin Jim to my tree under each test match? Now, the reason why I wanted some clarification is because different people do different things in Ancestry, and I wanted to know what you were doing before I made a recommendation. So I manage tests, or have the ability to manage tests, for 2 aunts, 2 first cousins once removed. These are my dad's first cousin, and then a second cousin, as well as I think 1 more person. And so it depends on what research you're doing. I don't like to have one tree to rule them all. I like to have targeted research trees. And so even though I have my 2 aunts, which are from my mom's side, my dad didn't have any brothers and sisters. So I don't have any aunts and uncles on his side. I just have the first cousin, and I just have the second cousin. So I will link people for the Geisler descendants lines into my tree, because that is where my research is. I don't necessarily want to be distracted with everybody else. But that is a personal preference. Others will say link everybody in their dog to at least your first primary tree. And then if you want to put it in the kits that you manage, you can also put that. So I did go to look. I know that I have added the DNA matches, the cousin matches, to my tree as I figured people out. I'm like, oh, this is a Zumstein, this is a Comfort, this is a Townley, this is a the Townsend's on the other side. But I was working on a research project, so I'm not strictly maternal only. So any major project I'm working on, I put those people in my tree. It just creates not only DNA matches, it creates record hints, and it just gets me so distracted every time I get in there. And when I'm going to be on Ancestry, I want to be targeted, I want to be focused, and things of that nature. So that's my personal preference. This is an opportunity for any of you watching. What is your personal preference. What is your best practice? I do know that one of my colleagues has put everybody and their dog in their tree. They basically have a rival to the family search family tree, the one rules family tree with everybody. And to me, my thinking, I can't do that. But there's nothing wrong if you can. Thoughts? Do you even add DNA matches to your tree, doing just any research and then link them into the tree, or you just like let it go?
Nope.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, one, because I don't use Ancestry that much, so.
Ooh, look, the truth comes out.
Yeah, and that's probably why.
Mm-hmm. All right. Looks like I did tell people that Andy has a heart out in about 5 minutes. So we were going to do any more DNA questions.
No, I wanted to talk about this one.
Yeah.
This wasn't a DNA one, though.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up DNA questions so that when he leaves, he can leave. Okay.
No, not this one.
Okay.
This one. You changed it.
I'm trying to hit hide. There you go. There you go.
All right, yesterday's video on including historical content in my story. Should this content be put in content boxes or blended into the main story? Okay,
so give me just a second because I do have a video. We have a lot of videos over on Write Your Family History. If you haven't found this website yet or the YouTube channel yet, you really need to go over. And just today, I'm up to 927 subscribers, so close to 1,000. That's the biggest milestone for this channel. And I highly recommend that you subscribe if you haven't done it already. And of course, my website won't go. First, you need to understand what a box text is. And so I want to bring that up. And Stacy had asked the question, and I'll pull this up. Can we have a link to the map video? And can we have a link to any of the videos I share? The answer is yes, you can. Just let me finish the video. And then I'm keeping a running list of all the videos I need to share with you. And I will put that in the description box once we're finished. So let's not elevate. Where'd it go? Okay. I think I have too many things going on at one time. All right. So there it is. Okay. So there is a video called Transformative Technique for Writing Your Family History. And there we go. I'm sharing it, right? Okay. This is called box text. And I highly recommend you go watch this video because it absolutely transformed the way I thought I was going to include.
You're sharing the studio version of it.
I know, I'm not. I can't get it into the other one.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so just ignore the studio version of it. But that's the video. I'm going to close that out. I took that off. Yeah. All right. So where's his question? The box text. Okay, things are going wonky.
I'm not pressing anything.
Okay, you know what? My version is going wonky. Switch it to his question. All right, box text.
I can't.
Hit show. There we go. Box text. So when you're writing a story and you have it published, this is mainly to solve the solution of publishing stories. You can have your main text, and I like to keep the main text completely focused on a story. And it's kind of like these little inserty things, right? So that actually is a really good thing. I'm glad you picked it out. So historical context. Now, if you want to have historical context in your story, you have two options. Let's say you want to talk about the Gatling gun because your ancestor had a Gatling gun. Would they have a Gatling gun?
Probably not.
What's another gun that people would have? I'm sorry. I'm not a gun girl. He's the gun guy.
If he was an outlaw that was like shooting up a train, he might have his own Gatling gun, but that was
what's
mostly
a gun?
the military.
Oh, Clinton. What? You did Colt. A Colt, right? A Colt?
A Colt. That's better.
A Colt? I don't know. I don't know anything about guns.
Your ancestor had a Gatling gun. It's like, I want to know your ancestor.
Anyway, so if your ancestor had a Colt or a Winchester or another gun, right? But you really don't want to dive in deep.
Babyface Nelson. He probably had a Gatling gun. Sorry, that was just funny.
I make people laugh. That's what I'm here to do. I make people laugh, you know? Anyway, so
back to the Gatling gun.
the Colt, the Winter, the Browning. Is that one too? I'm doing good. Okay. I just named 3, right? You guys name whatever.
Well, see, but those are all manufacturers. They make lots of different guns. Gatling gun was a specific gun.
Okay. Sorry. Well, what if they used a Gatling gun in the military?
So let's say that your ancestor's Babyface Nelson, and he's got a Gatling gun. Go on.
So let's say you don't want to go into the history of that gun or the other ones I attempted to name. I don't know anything about guns. But you don't want to put all of that into the main body because it'll be a distraction, just like I got off on a random tangent. So what this thing is called a box text, where just like in the kids' textbooks, there'll be a little snippet that give you a little extra insight. So you can write about whatever gun on the side there to give the context. So you could also, maybe you're writing about St. Kevin, England. And you just want to say in it's a coastal city, right? You would consider it a coastal city. Maybe you're saying
I wouldn't consider it a city.
Huh?
I wouldn't consider it a city.
Help me out here. Okay, it's a coastal residential location of uncertain size. City. And maybe you
just
want
a little bit smaller than London.
And you want to talk about a little bit of the history, but you don't want to put it into your story because you found a really good nugget. Maybe some famous person lived in St. Kevin. I don't know. You wanted to put that. You can put it in a box text, and then you can continue with your story. So the historical context, that video where I showed lots of resources, as well as the video about box text and including that, but those links will be down later. The thing about Paul, I don't think his name is Paul. It's P. Smith, so I always think it's Paul Smith because that's your cousin's name. In any case, what you use with historical context is what is going to tell your ancestor's story without getting them completely confused and completely on tangent. So this is the box text can help you add some historical context without working it into the story, but sometimes working the context into the story helps you understand it better without breaking people like, oh, I need to shift and look at this extra little side bit. So write your story and then make the decision. Does it need to pull it out to give an extra bit of context that's separate but not part of the main story? Or does it need to work into the main story? And I'm sorry I got us all off context. I just feel really silly right now.
It's okay. I have to run.
Yes, you do.
You have your Gatling gun conversation.
I do have my Gatling gun conversation.
Try to get Babyface Nelson in somewhere else in another question.
I don't know if I will be able to. I'm glad I'm making everybody laugh today. And a Winchester. Yeah, see, there's a gun. Okay. Okay. There were a couple other questions, and I'm trying to catch up. And there's some great suggestions of what people do for adding people to family, to ancestry, DNA matches. There's one, I have a brick wall. I'm trying to rule in and out. I add 2 matches I have to trees, as well as put a big disclaimer that there's unverified. That's a great strategy. Keep those coming, you guys. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with them. Precinct. Okay. This is a great question, Dragonfly. You've got a lot of really, really great research questions. The thing I'm going to tell you when it comes to voter registrations and getting information about the geographical precincts at that particular level is start doing research about the actual collection, how it was created, who has it, that type of things. And if you can find somebody who is, you can maybe reach out to a professional genealogist using the Association of Professional Genealogists and find somebody who's in that area and say, hey, I have a quick question. Do you know? And then say, how do I learn about precincts for Clay County, Ohio, right? I think it's Clay County, Ohio. Miss America from Ohio talked about Clay County, so I'm assuming it's one in Ohio. That's one thing. You could reach out to professional researchers in that area. You can also try to talk to the curator, unless it's the state archive, they may not know. But start just reaching networking. A lot of times when you're getting that specific and that granular, you'll want to research to other people in that area to get the answer, because the fact of the matter is, it depends. It depends. It depends on where you are. Like, I am trying to figure out what happened to this little town in San Miguel County, New Mexico. And it is no longer a city there because now it's part of a national park. And so I am trying, everybody and their dog, trying to figure out what happened to Sabinosa, and I'm striking out. There aren't a lot of people who researched in San Miguel County, so I just have to keep digging. I don't know if there will ever be more information about this little town from the 1880s. It might be a ghost town, and it's just, and not even a town, it's just all wilderness now. So it all depends on the area in which you live, whether you're going to be able to find some information about it. My true ancestry. Watch our video of CRI genetics. They're both cut from the same cloth. All right, I have a couple more questions that I was going to tackle. Oh, I did want to bring this up. So going back to Anna Karen's question about how much should I write, there actually is a follow-up commentary we had, and I don't remember which video we did this on. I think it might have been a live stream, or it might have been in a premiere chat when I was premiering the video on the Write Your Family History channel, and when we talked about the obituary to story. Basically what it was, Stacy Coates had said, hey, why are you starting with an obituary rather than a previous record? Now, part of the challenge was I was given an obituary, and that's why I chose the obituary to write with. But when you have one particular ancestor and you're not challenging me to turn your story into document into a story, where should you start? It depends. What you can see in the obituary video is you're going to add a lot of historical context leading up to that story. You know, when did people die? When was someone married? How long were they married before the one spouse outlived the other? How long was that person a widow? So the obituary often is, if you start with the obituary, there's a lot of familial context you can add to it, and it makes you go, well, why didn't I just start with a previous record? And for me, actually, it doesn't really matter where you start. It can be easier to start with the earliest record somebody has and work that way down and then tell their story chronologically. But feel free to start with an obituary. Just know that you're going to have that extra familial context, and then you'll bring in certain records, extract that information, expand out that segment a little bit more. So it doesn't matter which, actually, it doesn't matter which document you start with, but many people will find it easier to start with an earlier record, whether it be a census record, because there are no birth records, that type of thing. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that. Okay. Okay, there's just a comment that got starred. There's a comment, and then there's a comment. Let me see what other questions there are. Thank you guys for putting Q in front of it. It really helps me know the difference between a comment and a question. Do you know this person under my mom's test, even though I've already matched them under my match? Yes. And so this goes back to your earlier question of what are best practices. It just depends on how much time you want to spend putting everybody together. There are some advantages for linking people into your tree. Now, there is a way to say, yes, I know how this person is related without adding them to your tree. They're two different things. One of them, you'll say, yes, I know how they're related. They're through maternal line, and they're a fourth cousin. Past was it fifth cousin? I don't think you can do fifth once removed or fifth half or half fifth. I think fifth and then distant, right? By doing that, by identifying that information, I have found that I do that a whole lot more on my tree, but not necessarily my cousin's tree as much. But if you're just working on a couple of DNA tests and you don't have a YouTube channel where you're trying to teach everybody how to do things and you have a little more time than I do, I'm just kidding. I'm just being silly. Then go ahead and see if you want to go ahead and link them. But what it does, if you do that, you don't add them to your family tree and then trigger hints and trigger a whole bunch of things that way. So I actually would, if I was going to be linking people to the tree, that's a link that would be a designation I would favor. And I do favor on my tree more than adding certain people to the tree, creating a profile, building out their family and stuff like that. I will do that when I'm working on a specific line on a specific question so I can be hyper focused. So I don't know what else you guys had to say about that. Let's see. Question. Okay. So what would you recommend for flowcharts and diagrams? There is a video that I made about how to make a fictional family tree. So I probably need to write that down. A fictional family tree. If you just type Family History Fanatics fictional family tree into YouTube search, you'll find that. And there are a couple of flowchart programs that I recommend there. What do we use for the whiteboard? We just use blank.org, but we never save it. And so in that case, you just want a drawing program. And there's a couple out there. There's GIMP, which is free. There's Paint, which is free. And it's on Microsoft. I don't know what the Apple version of Paint is. It just all kind of depends. There's another video. I'm going to forget all of this. So those of you who are on our mailing list and you know my email, just send me an email of these two videos since Andy's gone and I'm trying to remember everything. The Clue Webs video and the fictional family tree, so I can add those to the comment section. But the Clue Webs, you can use, Google Docs Google Present. Google Slides, that's what it's called. You can also use PowerPoint. The idea is you just use a visual program and you have this like screen and then you just chart things out in a flow chart and draw lines and things like that. So a Clue Web, I actually use Google Slides to make those and it still gives that flow chart type of thing. Let's see. After doing genealogy, I decided to write my own obituary. You know what? Spare your family and just write them. That actually, it's not as funny as you think. I would, and actually it's pretty good. Maybe it's interesting. So she knows that Anna Corinne knows that I have this mysterious William Anderson who's from Sweden. He shows up in Howard County, Missouri in 1880. He sires a child and disappears. So maybe he was babyface. That would be funny. Okay, so can you add people to a DNA tree rather than a research tree? Similar, can't you just add to your tree, link them without having fully researched your family? Can't you just research them individually but go no further? Well, yes, you can. Yes, you can. But I don't know why my brain just sees the shaky leaf hints or sees the hints in the tree. And if I don't go... I think I have a problem. It's almost like a gamer problem where you have to get all the hints attached to people. So when I have people and they say, hey, there's this potential ancestor and hey, there's this record and hey, I can't ignore it. I don't know if I'm just weird or what. So if you're able to ignore them, absolutely add them to your tree. I'm not saying don't. I just know myself. So when you get advice from somebody who's a genealogy educator, try different things out. If it doesn't work for you, it's okay. There is no And certain things, there are no one absolute correct way to do things. In my ancestry tree, I have to keep it focused or I will just get lost down rabbit holes. And I know Lisa Louise Klook, our thoughts and prayers go out to her with what she has shared about her medical challenges right now. She has had numerous different webinars about how Alice avoids going down the rabbit hole. And after watching one of her that webinar, I can't remember if it was in person or virtually, but I do remember I attended that one. And the thought came to me, keep my tree small. If I keep it big, I'm going to be working on the people that I should not be spending my time on. I need to work on the people that I'm most focused on. It's another reason why I have a research plan on certain people. These are the people I need to work on. Everybody out there, you're just going to have to wait. You're going to get in line. When Cinco graduates in 5 years, then maybe I can tackle you. So just keep that in mind. Matt, if it works for you, then awesome. But the best practices, it really isn't a best practice. It's what's going to work for you. How many people wish Android had buckets so you can just pass them into a bucket and then go, ooh, yes. Yep, I like that. And it doesn't matter if it's family search or if it's ancestry, find my past, my heritage, whoever. Like, I wish we could say, these are the people I want to focus on. If you're giving me information that helps this line, give it to me. Great. I'm all over it. And everybody else we can, because sometimes you get stuck, right? You get stuck in your research, you get really frustrated, you need to wait, you run out of money, whatever it is, it's the roadblock that you get stuck. And then you need to go work on one of those other lines that's in your tree. And it would be nice to go visit them for a little while and then come back to the main people you're focusing on. I don't know whether it's called a bucket or a focus group or I don't care, but yes, that's a fantastic idea. I really love it. What are my thoughts on associations? Have you gotten used to it yet? I have played around with them. I'll be honest. My main focus has been documenting my my high school years. I've been redoing my scrapbook, so I haven't played with it enough. I do like this tool because I have 4 or 5 floating trees in my Roots Magic database. The first one is my great grandmother, Eveline Townley. She was engaged to Carl Short, but she never married him because he died between them taking their engagement photos and when they were going to get married. And so he's in my tree. He's in the family Bible. He's in the family photo album. I want to track them. And so instead of just having this floating tree and the next person who gets it doesn't know why, the association features connects Carl to Eveline. So now, yes, we know why Eveline is there. There's also Samuel Barton, who is also in the Geisler family Bible. He's not a blood relative, but he became the godfather of Eveline's son, George Barton. So he's floating in the family tree. But now I have that associates feature so that the next people who inherit the tree can see, oh, they're not just this random person. There actually is a link. So I actually do like it, but that's about all I've done so far, simply because by the end of the year, I hope to have my scrapbook of my high school years and the 3 years I was in pageants because they overlap. And I put that together, which brings another side question here. Yearbooks. Many of you are thinking, how do I get a yearbook from my high school? Well, I went to look at my yearbooks and I found out I have 2 of the 4 that I bought. And then I also have my 2 middle school ones, but it's middle school, actually 3 middle school. I'm missing freshman and sophomore, and I have junior and senior yearbooks. Okay. So then I thought, where could I look? I looked at Classmates, My Heritage, Ancestry, and a number of other places that have yearbooks online. I even went to the school website or a tangential school website that talks about what yearbooks are available. My school does not have any yearbooks online. Yay. Our rival school has 2. I had a boyfriend that was in a different school, and it has the year right before he goes there, but nothing after until like 2005. And like, are you kidding me? Right. So then I thought, what can I do in order to get yearbooks from my freshman and junior year? Well, this is the power of Facebook. Okay. I went on and I had said, oh, I wish I could have our freshman and sophomore yearbook. So, believe it or not, the girl that I didn't get along with in high school, we're now friends. And she said, hey, how about I just ship the book to you? And I was like, oh, I'll totally pay shipping, no problem. So she wrapped it up, she sent it to me, and I've been scanning to my heart's content, getting all these different parts of the yearbook. I also was able to, I don't know if you guys had nicknames for friends, but you can't remember the person's actual name. So I was able to look at the name of this guy who passed away my sophomore year. I loved him so much as a friend, maybe a romantical interest if he lived longer, but he tragically died in a car wreck. And I'm like, I cannot remember this dude's name to save my life, because we always just called him Poof because he had this little poofy thing, and we'd always play with his poof hair, his bangs, right? So I was able to go to the yearbook, find that information out. And I was looking at her yearbook and I was looking at my other yearbooks, and I'm thinking, none of us can share our yearbooks online because we all put heart faces over the guys we liked or the girls that we liked. We put scribbled out faces of people we didn't like. I don't know. I think that might be the reason why our yearbooks are not online. I don't know if that's a cultural thing. I don't know if that's a regional thing where people marked up the school roster picture so much. And then some of the signatures, people use some pretty crass languages. So I don't know that any of these books can be donated. But then I had another friend, and he was a military brat, and he was in my school for 1 year. And I reached out to him. He's like, oh, sure, let me just mail it to you because I don't know how to work a scanner. We've had one for 15 years. I can't make it work. And then he said, could you just keep it? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, do people just not have that kind of love for their things of the past? And he had said, and I don't know what you guys think, I was a military brat. I just never developed a lot of connection to the places we live. So please do whatever you want. So I will be sharing that book as long as it doesn't have all the scribbles that me and my friend did in our scrapbooks. Anyway, so reach out to your classmates, see if they have yearbooks. Number one is the moral of the story is number one, reach out to your classmates, see if they have the yearbooks for the yearbooks that you might be missing. And if you have people like my one friend from freshman year who are like, I don't really care, do what you want, then try to donate it to, with their permission. I said, do you mind if I send it up to classmates or ancestry or whatever? And you told me which one you preferred, and I'm going to submit it to them after I scan, and then share it to them. But that's my moral of the story is reach out to your classmates, see who has them, see if anybody's willing to donate. And that's one of the ways you're going to get some more yearbooks online. That was that question. Okay. All right. So it is 11 o'clock my time. I don't see any more questions that I'm able to answer at that time. If you have more questions, put them in the comments section below, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.